So as in pursuit, we exist to solve for the impact of power outages. And power outages, I've come to understand that there's so many ways how the targeted beneficiaries or the users of our products might experience them, right? And I think when we talk about power outages, we talk about the fact that the power was there and now it's no longer there, and therefore the people are suffering, right? So I'm gonna address that one first. And so what has really brought that into light, particularly in South Africa, has been, I think, the instance of load shedding, right? And I always tell people that load shedding is one type of a power outage, right? Because a power outage can also be because the infrastructure is breaking down because it's too old. That's number one. The infrastructure could also not be designed according to the best standards, right? And then load shedding is one of the results where the power is there, but it is not enough for those who need to use it. And so when you shed, it's because you are getting off some of the users so that you can keep the system going with what the system can produce. That's what load shedding is, right? And so I've come to realize, though, that there's another power outage which is due to the energy or the power actually never being existent. So we're talking about those who've never been connected to the grid. And I think people will be quite surprised to understand that in South Africa, there are areas where they've never been connected to the grid. I mean, we've just come back from KZN in the areas of Utrecht where some villages do not have power. And so for us, the solving for power outage has really, really taken us into very sophisticated areas of thinking of what that means. And so as we solve for the traditional, meaning those who have been having power and feel that they are suffering because the power is no longer there. And so what we do there is we then, engineer solutions for them. We tailor them. We use the cutting edge technology. But then there's layers to that as well, because cutting edge technology costs money. And so we've also come to realize that then there's also different levels of how you then deliver, a robust solution. There's also then the element of affordability as well. Now, we would like to see all South Africans, or let me say all Africans, having access to energy, because we definitely are convinced that energy is a human right. Energy has become like water. Energy has become, at some point in time, it would be like oxygen, because most of the things going forward in the future will have to be powered, by energy as well. And so that's what we solve for, and then that's what we target. However, we have also seen that because of who we are and how we do what we do, we have become a partner of choice, mainly for small business. I was just wondering, how did that come about, right? And obviously, it wasn't obvious to me. I thought, we are very good at engineering. We know this technology, and, we do the implementation the best way. I then later realized that actually small business are quite comfortable buying from another small business, because they understand that we understand their challenges as well. So I remember just seeing the smiles of business owners as we went into their sites when you then explain who In Pursuit is. And I thought maybe they would have known about us from the internet. And then later, as you spend time with them, you realize that what brings them comfort is that another entrepreneur just landed at my business. And so this person really understands what my problem is and what my impact is if I don't have energy. And number 4, this person clearly understands the financial challenges that entrepreneurs have. And so this business being in Pursuit, founded by an entrepreneur, if they give me the cost of the solution, is because they would have taken into consideration the fact that they understand that we as entrepreneurs must use our money, getting a lot of value from it. And I've come to like that about who we are becoming as well. And then to large corporate, because we do have corporate clients. And I think what they like about us is the fact that we are not an overnight solar installer. And I think from my background, now it's been over a decade in renewable energy. And I've spent almost 2 decades in the engineering and consulting sector. So corporate are not just comfortable with me because I'm a Black woman-owned, energy business. So they know for a fact that I bring almost 20 years of experience, and I bring a proper understanding of the science principles or the engineering principles when I give them the solutions. And then what is not known about us is our impact work, and I think which is what really fuels what we do. The fact that we've touched over 6 provinces, having trained over 200 young people to become solar artisans and mentored over 20 businesses as well. It's what I think when our users find out about our impact story, and I think it just seals it for them to say, it's quite unique from a proper engineering and a technology and company to be number one, led by an engineer and really have seriously qualified people in their team. I mean, the mere fact that we've actually done over 80 projects. I mean, a company of our size, not many can say that, And so I think that's what we do. That's how we do it. And being fueled by our social impact work, and I think we definitely will be evolving into, a proper, I think, Pan-African company that is centered in science, in engineering, but with a heart for the people. That's a nice question, because I'm constantly just thinking about always being African. I think the moment I wake up, it's kind of like, today, how can I see more African? And I think, though, what has also helped is my background being an international student. I remember being an international student in Asia and constantly waking up with the view that even when I go home, I still want my people to recognize me. And I think at that point in time, then you are consciously doing things inwardly and outwardly that will keep you African. So that was between 2006 and up to, that's between 2001 and up to 2006. And so in the 5 years, I'm like, I used to see these things on TV, how Americans would really try to be Africanized. I was more like those guys. I was at the center of Asia in Malaysia, spending every day trying to prove to people that being African is the thing, And so this is when my dreadlocks come in. So I'm a student there. I'm like, whenever a person look at me from behind, they must know that that's an African. And then obviously in ensuring that I make a mark, I'm focused on my studies as well. And then when we were there, I must say, then that's when I really experienced other African nations, because then all the countries were there, Nigerians, Mozambicans, Zambians as well. And I learned from them because I thought we as South Africans were proud to be African until I saw other nations how proud they were of being African. I was like, this is the movement I'm joining. And so I come back from university in 2006, and I thought maybe coming back home will dilute me. I don't know what happened. It just never left me. And so I remember even when I was putting together an Impesut profile, there was this line, if you look at the original document, we are a Pan-African energy company, because it was always going to be about, Africa as well. And so I continue on that. But I think I'm not diluted right now. I might not, be, in the frequency of always speaking Pan-African. And there's a reason for that. It's because I have come to understand that as I am, and as I am being on a daily basis, It's actually being African. I don't have to prove to anyone. It is very different from being in another continent, constantly wanting every day to prove that you're African. Right now, I just am. I'm African. I understand that Africans are getting more sophisticated. And so even as I go to greater height educationally with my experiences, I know that I just am. From the mere fact that I'm African, this is who I am. And so that's what has really, kept me, in that state. And I think it might get worse in a good way going forward. Like, for example, we don't have aspirations as in pursuit to work in other countries except to conquer the African continent. That might sound very arrogant, right? I always tell the team to say, the continent is enough for us. If we've got billion rand dreams, the continent is enough. It's going to give that to us. You see. That's it. So, first of all, I think the secret sauce is in the educating. I think when renewable energy was brought to the people, it was brought as this sophisticated concept for which then only those with money and a certain level of education would have access to it. And so while we then went into the market as in pursuit, also going in as engineers and trying to capture a market, I then later realized that you are capturing those who don't even know why you are trying to capture them. And so I think in the past 3 years, for example, a lot of our work starts with education. Like, what is renewable energy, guys? What is solar energy? No, it's solar. It's energy from the sun. How do you capture it? You capture it using a technology called solar panels, and then you connect that to an inverter. What is an inverter? It's the one that converts the sun energy into the energy that you know, which is the one that you've been getting from Eskom. You see, so it has come to that, and now we then understand that it comes naturally actually to in pursuit. So whenever we go and see a client, we actually take more time to first educate, so that when the client makes a decision, we know that it's a genuine decision. They are quite informed about it. Yeah. We primarily serve small business. We didn't realize it until we looked at our track record. It's just like over 70 small businesses. Even when we were doing the work in implementing those projects, we were not even framing the entire portfolio as small business. But we then realized that, listen, we are a preferred partner to small businesses. But then number two, what's unique about us is that we are a preferred partner to impact investors. We've always thought, our money, meaning those who invest money into in pursuit, will be the banks, and let's say would be some venture capital fund. We then later find out 95% of the work that we've done has been funded from impact social programs. And so we really like that about us, because then it takes us back once again to why we do what we're doing. So there'll be two parts, because usually clients are those who've already done some level of research to find out about how, let's say, a renewable energy solution would help them. So we basically start from, what would be a level upper, because then we don't have to educate about the basics of the technology. So we when we're dealing with clients in that manner, those who have decided that they would like to take on a renewable energy solution, we then talk about, obviously, what are their needs. What do you need to use the solution for? And then what are your priorities that you would like to make sure that are covered by the solution? And then thirdly, of course, we must go into the money. What is your estimated, budget for obtaining this solution, And then we go into the technical aspect of it, because then we have to take this information, look at what the conditions are on site. So ideally, let's say, for example, a house, then you look at what the potential client wants to power, and for how long, and whether their roof or the space that they need to implement their solution is suitable. And then when it comes to communities, right, that's a different process. And that's more of a personal process, if I may say, and it takes a little bit longer, right? Because then you first have to simplify the process of understanding what they need, right? Because usually when you go to communities, by the time communities are introduced to renewable energy solutions, they are already frustrated about other solutions that may have been presented to them and potentially didn't happen or didn't work. And so you gotta go through those emotions of saying, yes, we understand where your frustrations are, but what is it that you really need? And so you have to unpack the layers, up to a point to say you get there and you find communities saying, no, we need our off-grid solution. And I'm kind of thinking, okay, do you really know what an off-grid solution and what it's gonna cost? And so as you unpack, then you find, for example, in our recent project in KZN, then you find that what people really need is they want to have water pumped from a river so that the ladies who are doing the garden don't have to walk distances to go and get water with buckets. And so that's exactly what we did. We put in a solar pump, and then it pumps water to the garden. Then 21 women no longer have to walk a distance to go and get water, right? But I remember when we first went there, it was just like, you know what? We don't have electricity here. There's nothing we can do. There's no development. But I think once we really then found out, then the solutions started coming. So, for example, again, then we powered, a community hall. And a community hall has then now been turned into an internet cafe. They had no idea what they wanted at that point in time. And so, but as you peel the layers, you say, really, really, guys, what do you need? And then we find out that actually they're struggling with connecting to some of the networks as well. And they have to drive. In fact, they have to take taxis to long distances to go and find internet. Then we're like, okay, but if we bring power here, then we can bring a modem with the booster. You can get a signal, and then you can open an internet cafe. I'm telling you about solutions that we've done. Right? And if I look at the sophistication of those solutions based on the sophisticated work that we've done, we've done some amazing work. We've powered businesses with batteries and solar. And when I look at this, so the simplicity of these solutions and yet the impact of it. So the same solution you can give like a commercial client, it can have 10 times amplified impact on your community, for example. We've seen businesses, for example, that have, let's say, the water pumping solutions as well, like a 3 kilowatt solution. The same solution, which we recently then implemented in the community in KZN, I think if I just count the 21 ladies and count the youth, it has impacted at least almost 100 people, 100 families. And that in a town and for a business, it maybe it only just powers one machine. Maybe someone who just wants to mix, let's say, a business of cosmetics, or someone who wants to cut paper, and power that with solar. And so these are the two spheres that we have to operate in. Now, what we then know and what the feedback has come, it's what makes us unique as In Pursuit is the ability to do both with the same amount of compassion, and never let a commercial client and a community project beneficiary feel as if one is more important than the other. And our clients in the two spheres, they've also said the same. The ability for In Pursuit to come in as an engineer, really do their work, because we are engineers and technology company. And the same seriousness we actually take when we do community projects, that's been us, and I think that's exactly who we wanted to be. Now going forward, we can see this really elevating us to more sophisticated work. Now, apart from having to power our businesses and power communities, we've moved a level up where, for example, right now we are an independent power producer. And what that means really is that we've moved to a level where we are powering cities. So from powering small businesses and working with corporate industry to powering communities and now going into independent power producer. I mean, I really, really appreciate the organic growth that the organization has achieved. And I think, once again, as I reflect right now, I definitely then think, the $1 billion, the billion rand level is definitely a possibility, right? Yeah. And so I think as you know, we close off, I think, on this initial discussion. Thank you so much for being part of this. Going forward, I then really want to, talk about debunking myths when it comes to the renewable energy sector. And I think from the start of this initiative, I'm already hoping that from this episode, we've debunked some myths to say perhaps, owners of tech businesses and energy businesses and some entrepreneurs that have gone into renewable energy, there's a certain character that they need to be. And I'm hoping that I've debunked a lot of myths. I mean, I'm a girl from Mlazi. Even though I studied, electrical engineering, I'm literally just an ordinary, woman and a mother. Now, going forward, we definitely are going to focus on, ensuring that there's a better understanding of the industry. And so we're going to talk about why exactly we continue to, champion the transition by all, I mean, residential, business, corporate, and cities into taking on the renewable energy solutions. And so I'm hoping that you can stick with us and then you can learn a bit more. Thank you.